socio-economic conditions is a key. We see that EU economy cannot really go without socio-economic conditions, and we see that it will create unnecessary conflicts and problems, and it will bring the problem even worse, Mr. Chair. Therefore, we believe that we should use socio-economic conditions to get the member countries in European Union in the context of EU economy, Mr. Chair. So before I move on to my hash point, I have 5 main rebuttals to make. The first one is that they say that they have the countries in Europe, they have right to join EU because they are located in the European context. But however, Mr. Chair, what about the rights of EU, ladies and gentlemen? We see that EU also have rights, Mr. Chair, because we see that it's the rights of EU to select its member countries, Mr. Chair. The second thing is that they say that EU is lack of workers, labor, so like they say that opening region will gain more workers and labor. We see that they don't have. We see that not if EU is that offer. We see that they don't have to be part of EU before they can be the worker of that of the countries in EU. We see that labor can come to work. What we see in their side is that they said like the people in other countries which is not a member of EU cannot go to work in EU if they are not the member if they are not a member in EU. The third thing is that they say that if we let them join in EU, it will bring back the human rights of people, and they say that it will make a change. We see that they are assuming, Mr. Chair. We see that it will bring more unnecessary conflict in the EU, and we see such as like Muslim, as our LO has already talked so much about that point. We see the nature of Muslim is like not easy accept other religions. We see that it will bring the problem even worse. No. So the fourth one is that they say that our model cannot raise up EU economic level. They also ask us that who provide more mechanism. Yes, we agree that they provide more mechanism, but what we see is that their mechanism can bring the problem even worse because the countries in EU won't accept the different religious, Mr. Chair. This is the point of all that they have talked about. The last thing is that they say that we look over the advantage and the advantage that they can gain if we let them join in the EU without socio-economic conditions. However, Mr. Chair, we see that they are assuming again, ladies and gentlemen. We see that they say that we look over the advantage. However, we see that they also look over the effect in the long term, ladies and gentlemen. We see that they also look over the long term effect of if we let the countries join EU without the socio-economic conditions, ladies and gentlemen. So let's moving on to my first clash. My first clash is that who actually solve the problem and why do we really need socio-economic conditions, ladies and gentlemen. The first level is that the rights of EU. We see that rights of EU, it is the rights of EU to select its members countries. We see that we strongly believe that the rights of EU is there, Mr. Chair. As our LO has already talked so much on this point. For example, the country A wants to talk to EU. We see that we accept that it's the right of country A to talk to EU. However, we see that the rights of EU is there. We see that it's the right of EU to accept that that country A. So we see that it's the right of country. It's the right of country A to talk to EU, but however we see that it's the right of EU to choose that country A too. So we see that they are like so ignorant in the point that it's the right of EU, Mr. Chair. The second level is that is it fair for those new countries as well? Yes, we see that if it's done, yes.
Are you supporting EU's discriminatory policy that based on arbitrary conditions?
Mr. Chair, we see that what we are trying to say, what we are concerning so much in our opposition team is that we are concerning about the rights of EU. We are not supporting discrimination at all. But what we try to say is the rights of EU. The rights of EU is there. They're supporting the rights of countries in European, but we also propose to you that the rights of EU are there. Are there also, Mr. Chair. So continue to my second level is that we see that without socio-economic conditions or at the end of the day, the result is the same because we see that they have to pass. If the countries that come to join EU, at the end of the day, they also have to pass an EU laws and conditions anyway. At the end of the day, we see that the result is the same because they have to pass all the laws and conditions of EU anyway, Mr. Chair. So we see that why don't we let them prepare before joining the EU? Because we see that if we let them prepare, we will not it will not create conflict. It won't create unnecessary conflicts, and we will see that they will have stable economy. We see that the countries in EU, the members and all parties in EU will have similar economic level to other members in EU. Also, Mr. Chair. So we see that if we have similar economy level, we see that it is easy to run economy of EU because at the end of the day, the results are the same anyway, Mr. Chair. So moving on to my second clash. My second clash is that the backlash of both sides. The first of all is that without socio-economic can really benefit all parties, Mr. Chair. Because on the religious and human rights part, we see that people are still not united, still separated around the world. We see that there are too many many groups of people still separated around the world, like black and white. We see that without socio-economic conditions, people cannot really integrate together. For example, Christian and Muslim. As our LO has already talked so much about that, the nature of Muslim is that they believe strongly in themselves. They won't accept other religions. This is the main point, Mr. Chair. So we see that the problem will be even worse, and we see that they are creating conflict, unnecessary problems and unnecessary conflicts, Mr. Chair. Therefore, we see that EU economy cannot grow without socio-economic conditions, Mr. Chair. The second level is that how is stability important? In our side, we are concerning lesser conflict, and we see that we are looking forward in long term stability of EU in the long term. The third level is that socio-economic is the only way to go compared to ASEAN. When we joined ASEAN community, they also gave us 5 years to prepare themselves. This proves that we really need time to prepare before to join. And we see that in the government side, we see two issues that they did not tackle. We see that they are so ignorant on the point of culture and religious problem. The second thing is that they are so ignorant on the rights of EU. They keep talking about the rights of other countries in European, but we see that there are the rights of EU too. So therefore, since we have tackled off that, but we see that at the end of the day, the case of opposition strongly stand. This is what we are very proud to oppose. Thank you.